Hi, and welcome to a new product video from Nootropics Depot. My name is Erica, and this is our product specialist at Nootropics Depot, Emil.
Hey everyone.
Today, Emil and I are going to introduce to you 5 new products that are coming out today. You can try them for yourself and find them on Nootropics Depot's website. The first we're going to start with is one of our new additions of our very popular drink mixes. This is the Mushroom Magic Coffee Latte BALLER edition.
It is quite a mouthful, and we really love drinking all of the mushroom magics, and especially this week because both Eric and I have been sick. I got hit a little bit harder. I'm still recovering, so you might hear a little bit of congestion in my voice. It might not be as sharp as I normally am, but because of the caffeine amount in here, which is 150 milligrams, I'm gonna start drinking some of this to show you guys how it looks like. We can comment on the taste, but also to keep my mind nice and crisp.
And for anyone who is unfamiliar with this drink mix, if you haven't seen these pots before, or if you don't know what we're talking about when we say Mushroom Magic, we have Mushroom Magic Matcha and Mushroom Magic Coffee drink mixes, which contain a blend of mushrooms that are going to be great for cognition, for focus, for reducing and helping with inflammation, and a bunch of other concerns on a daily basis. So we have a couple of varieties of matcha drinks, we have a couple of varieties of coffee drinks, and the BALLER editions are going to be those drink mixes with those mushrooms in it, but taken to the next level with really high quality mushrooms.
And also the normal one has very high quality mushrooms. The big differentiator here is that in the BALLER editions we are putting in extracts. In the normal editions there are no extracts present. And in the BALLER editions we are putting in Arinamax, which is our very unique liquid culture lion's mane mycelium that has been standardized towards adenosine A. And that standardization is coming from a reference standard that we created ourselves by extracting lion's mane biomass. And as far as we know, we were the first lab in the world that could test for adenosine A, and we're also one of the first people that actually came out with an adenosine A standardized lion's mane. So this is quite special, and that made its way inside of the BALLER editions because it has a very unique effect. On top of that, we wanted to double down on the lion's mane because this is one of our favorite nootropic mushrooms and a lot of your favorite nootropic mushrooms. So we added in our lion's mane 8-to-1 extract. This is a dual water ethanol extract, and this brings out some more of the hericenones that are present in the fruiting body and the hericines. We are currently working on getting the reference standards made for hericinone and hericines. We actually got pretty close on one of the hericinones now, so we might be able to test that soon, and then we can really know exactly what's in there. But that is the basic principle behind using a dual water ethanol extract of lion's mane here. And this is a pretty potent one that a lot of people have great effects with, and they like stacking the 8-to-1 and Arinamax usually, which is why the combination is in here. On top of that, we put in, instead of our normal Cordyceps 1-to-1 product that's in the regular Mushroom Magics, here we put in our 10-to-1 dual water ethanol extract. And this 10-to-1 extract is really unique, in my opinion, because it's really physically stimulating and mood boosting. And I think that makes a perfect base for a more energizing drink like the BALLER editions. And then on top of that, we have some of the mushrooms that are already in the regular mushroom magics. So the tiger milk mushroom, which is a sclerotium, and this is not an extract. We haven't developed an extract of it yet, but it works so well, it also made it into the BALLER edition. And then we put in poria. We also don't have an extract of poria yet, but the interesting thing about poria is that it is very high in beta-glucans. These beta-glucans are important prebiotics. They're good for immune function, and poria has some unique effects on cognitive function and mood. So it makes a nice complement, and by using those non-extracts in here, we can also provide a bunch of beta-glucans, which are good for immune function, which is why Eric and I have been drinking quite a lot of this over the last week to get our immune function back up, to restructure our microbiome, because being sick kind of does a number on your microbiome, it does a number on everything. So this has been a really interesting one for that journey. And also just drinking this regularly helps you prevent from getting sick. Unfortunately, we haven't been doing that, so that's maybe one of the reasons we got sick.
Quick question. Is poria also a sclerosium?
Poria is also sclerosium. Okay. So we have 2 sclerosium extracts. And for those of you that don't know what a sclerosium is a part of the mushroom that grows underneath the ground. Not every mushroom produces a sclerosium. This is a unique feature of the tiger milk mushroom and of the poria mushroom. But this is a reserve where it holds all of the nutrients and bioactive compounds. And we can harvest that sclerosium before it fruits. And when you do that, you get all of those nutrient reserves that are there actually for the fruiting body. But now we get the benefit from them. And a lot of the sclerosium extracts are very high in beta-glucans and some of these polysaccharides. So we think those are really interesting. And there aren't many extracts being done of sclerosium products. So this is actually something we just have to figure out still in terms of making extracts. But that will be very interesting. But let's mix up a serving of this.
Yes.
And see how it tastes. One addition, so for the Mushroom Magic matcha baller editions, the big differentiator there too was that we put in a much higher quality matcha. This helped both with the flavors and the effects. Now when it comes to coffee is a much more difficult thing to work with. You can't just put coffee powder inside of this drink. It's just not going to taste nice. You need something that has basically already been brewed, so an instant coffee. But there aren't that many really, really good instant coffees, and the one we found, this instant espresso powder, actually blows all of the other instant coffees out of the water, in our opinion. And the next step up were these high-end third-wave coffee type instant coffees that cost you like $3 to $5 a serving, just as a consumer, meaning we'd probably have to pay $2 to $3 to even get it into this drink, which then means it's going to be an extremely expensive product. So we decided it simply wasn't worth it. So the differentiator in this one is that we added in a very high quality green coffee bean extract. Now that doesn't do much for the flavor, but it does for the effects, because green coffee bean extract is high in things like chlorogenic acid. And when we roast coffee, some of these compounds are transformed into other bioactives, for example trigonelline, which is also in our fenugreek. And chlorogenic acid, trigonelline, all of these different compounds have an additive effect on the stimulating effects of caffeine. So, for example, trigonelline and both chlorogenic acid seem to release a little bit of extra dopamine when you take them. So, in the context of caffeine and in the context of something like the cordyceps 10th, it adds to the overall stimulation. And what results is a really smooth but quite strong stimulating effect from this. It has 150 milligrams of caffeine, so it's right in line with those middle-of-the-road energy drinks, not super high in caffeine, but not very low either. It's like a cup of coffee, but spiked up with some of these stimulating mushrooms and the chlorogenic acid from the green coffee bean extract and the other bioactive compounds that are in there. So let's give this a taste test.
And for anyone who's been a loyal customer of Nootropics Depot for years, you'll be rejoiced and perhaps shocked that we are using scoops. So these Mushroom Magic drinks all have scoops, but they are specifically sized to make sure that you get the right dose of the coffee and the mushroom mix. And we're putting in 2 scoops because we're each going to have a serving.
Yes. So just like with the other latte versions, this also includes that coconut creamer. So it has a very nice, sweet, creamy, coconutty taste. And Erica is being nice so that there's not as much noise, but you have to shake that really hard for a sec. So go for it.
All right.
All right. So if you want to serve that, I will also show the other version that we have. We also just have a normal version. This also tastes really nice. Just tastes like a black cup of coffee with a little bit of extra stuff going on, of course, because there are mushroom extracts in here. The latte version is a real treat. This is a little bit more like an everyday thing. This is a good replacement for a cup of coffee. This is a good replacement for like a latte type drink that you would be getting from Starbucks. The nice thing too with the Mushroom Magic coffee baller is you can mix it with just normal milk, a protein shake. You can be a little bit more creative there. Whereas the latte version, the flavor profile is really made up, and it's a little bit harder to combine with things. So if you've got things that you want to add the Mushroom Magic coffee baller to, get the just normal plain one. If you want to have a full all-in-one drink that just really tastes pleasant, get the latte version. Not to say that this one doesn't taste pleasant, but it tastes like a dark cup of coffee, so you know what you're in for.
Cheers.
Cheers. So yeah, nice and creamy.
It's tasty, and you can see that there's a little bit of foam on the top, which is a nice latte effect.
I'm a big fan of this one. When we first started beta testing, so just to give a bit of context, we use our own products and we try and put them into our daily lives. And I really like the Mushroom Magic drinks, but it's not something that I'm drinking every day. Just the overall effects profile and the taste profile, it's something that I like every once in a while and not every day. This one now is something that if I need a second dose of caffeine later in the day, I'm always going to be grabbing this. Sometimes I'll grab an energy drink, sometimes I'll grab another cup of coffee, I'll take a half scoop of pre-workout, whatever it may be. But in our testing, this basically outperforms it every time. All of those other options. I just like the way these mushrooms feel, I like the way the green coffee extract feels, and I like the way the instant espresso powder feels. This is a really good, for me, just an energy drink. And this is something that a lot of us around the office have also been looking for, because we all like caffeine, we all like energy drinks, but we don't always like paying $3, $4, whatever it may be after all of this inflation now. We're a little bit out of touch now because we're living in the Netherlands. But it's fairly expensive to drink a good high quality energy drink currently. And basically, most of these energy drinks are just sparkling water and caffeine. So here you're getting pretty significant doses of some really unique mushrooms, and you're not tasting them. I have to say, while I enjoy eating culinary mushrooms if they're worked into something, just the flavor and aroma of a raw mushroom is not my favorite. And luckily, that's just not here at all. I don't detect any sort of mushroominess except the positive part of the mushroom, which is this nice umami flavor, which actually works really well with the coconut creamer and the coffee. So this is really nice.
So Emil likes to go for this drink when you need a little bit of a caffeine boost later in the day. For a little bit of context, we're also coffee nerds, so we like to buy really high quality and then slightly more expensive coffees. That's another reason why we go for this as our second coffee drink of the day rather than just a plain cup of coffee, because it's nice to have some variety and we want to keep that coffee ritual that we have in the morning just special. Another situation that I like to use this one is when I'm on the go. I take the Mushroom Magic matcha with me to my practice studio, but also sometimes in my bag when I know that I'm going to want a cup of tea or need some energy later in the day. But this would be a great on-the-go coffee drink, especially if you're short on time, you need a little bit more focus and some more caffeine. And for that reason, I think it's a really flexible drink product. You could take it with you, you can leave it at home, but I actually like to have multiple pots, like one to leave at the studio and one to have at home, so that I don't have to think about it, but I can always reach for a glass when I need it.
Yeah, every time I'm ordering supplements now, Erica always throws in 1 or 2 jars of the Mushroom Magic so she can place them everywhere she goes.
And I've shared it with some friends and they've all had really great experiences. So if you haven't tried these yet, definitely, if you're curious, give it a try. And of course, with all these new products, the links for these products are going to be in the description of the YouTube video, so you can try them for yourself and read more about them.
When we write the product descriptions, we're also making stacks, and I'm also really testing those stacks. It's important to note that I'm not writing about these things or talking about these things without ever having tried them. We really try them quite significantly and see how we can fit them into our daily lives. And I really like Kanna, and I've been using the Kanna tablets ever since we came out with them, and they're really versatile if I need a little bit of extra focus later at night if I'm on a call, because I'm oftentimes on calls in the evenings with the US. Then I need something to kind of wake me up, but not to give me tunnel vision, something that makes me nice and social. Kanna is perfect for that.
To give you a little bit of background info, we made a whole podcast all about Kanna, where the extract actually comes from, which is a very specific succulent-like cactus which grows naturally in South Africa and very specific areas of South Africa. And traditionally, it's used as an aid for dance ceremonies, for hunting, and basically for situations where it's important to cooperate and communicate really effectively with the people around you, but you also need a lot of energy and a lot of focus. So that's really the purpose for Kanna.
Yes. And it works in lots of different scenarios, and they also use it for long hunting treks if they need more endurance, and I've started using it in the gym. It works really well there. Gives me a bit more physical energy, a bit more physical strength, and definitely some endurance. So Kanna is something I really like. So I suggested we should have powder. Powder, you can be a bit more flexible in how you dose, the actual dosage that you're using, but also how you use it. So I've been trying to figure out how can I spice up maybe a drink. And I threw a dose, a 50 milligram dose, in a serving of the Mushroom Magic Coffee BALLER Latte, and it perfectly hides the flavor. Kanna is pretty bitter, but it gets hidden by the slight bitterness of the coffee and the sweetness and the creaminess of the coconut creamer.
If you've tried Kanna before, then from Nootropics Depot, then you would have tried it in the tablet form. Mm-hmm. And we like to break the tablet into halves or sometimes into quarters and take it sublingually. And we find that the strongest sublingual dosing method is to put it in your top lip. Sometimes we do it in the bottom lip, although that one doesn't seem to have as strong of perceptible effects. But rather than taking it only in a tablet, now you have the powder option as well.
One of the reasons why we go for half a tablet is because we like to ramp the effects up. If we immediately go for that 50 milligram dose and it absorbs really quickly, it puts us at a little bit too high of an effect, and it's hard to keep that effect going a little bit longer then. But when you're drinking a beverage, something unique happens. You can take little sips over a period of an hour. So you can put a dose, like a 50 milligram standard dose. Here's no scoop, by the way. The dose is too low, so we're not going to give you a scoop for this. Use a scale. It's really important. This is really potent stuff. Don't joke around with it. Put some of this in your Mushroom Magic Coffee BALLER, and it takes it to the whole next level, because now you have some dopamine release, you have some serotonin release, you have these PDE4 inhibitor effects. It's a really unique effect. So now when I'm doing a meeting and I really need to get a little bit more amped up and I need some caffeine and I need a little bit of Kanna, I just combine them and I sip on it, and that's a really nice effect too. So that's one way in which you can use the Kanna, and like Erica said, we have a whole Kanna episode, so go watch that if you want some more details. But for those of you unfamiliar with it, it's a succulent from South Africa, like Erica mentioned. This succulent is called Silesium tortuosum, and it produces a bunch of very unique alkaloids. These alkaloids are mesembrine, mesembrinone, and delta-7 mesembrinone, which in our opinion has a bit more of a physically relaxing, full-bodied warm effect, and our FSK 53, which by the way stands for Full Spectrum Kanna, the 5 referring to 5% total alkaloids, the 3 referring to 3% total mesembrine. That specific extract also has quite a bit of delta-7 mesembrinone in it, which gives it a more physically warming, bit of a euphoric effect, which we really like. Part of how it does this is it upregulates something called VMAT2. And VMAT2 is important for the release of neurotransmitters. So this is where a lot of those effects are coming from. And then also because it's acting as a PDE4 inhibitor, this has some beneficial effects on blood flow, on blood glucose, and on inflammation and also mood. So this is a really unique product. And now you have it in a powder form, so you can use it in all sorts of different ways. I haven't tried this yet, but it would actually be kind of interesting to maybe bake it into something, like some cookies with some Kanna in it. I'm not sure if it would survive the baking process, but that would be an interesting thing to have, like a Kanna edible.
Like Emil said earlier, this powder is quite potent, and this jar itself is quite small. Also, you can see it's a 5-gram jar of Kanna.
Which is 100 servings. 100 servings. This is a lot of Kanna in a very little jar. So, like Erica, I am saying, don't joke around with this
Don't
stuff.
joke around with it. Definitely use a milligram scale to measure out your dose when you decide to try and take the Kanna powder.
And the suggested dosage is 50 milligrams. I would just start a little bit lower, actually, if this is your first time with Kanna. Go for a 25 milligram dose. It is very potent Kanna. 5% total alkaloids, 3% mesembrine is really at the higher end there. Things are getting a little bit crazy in the Kanna space now. You have things that are being standardized to plus 15% total alkaloids. And to be honest, I've tried some of those products. We might release a product like that in the future too, but so far I haven't really been convinced. That unique kind of full spectrum warmth type of effect that you get with FSK 53, it starts to kind of get lost when you go up and up and up, because a lot of these very high potency extracts also want just mesembrine, and mesembrine is the really stimulating compound within Kanna, and I find that these really purified mesembrine extracts are a little bit clinical in their effects. Like, they're stimulating, but they don't have that nice all-encompassing kind of euphoria-like effect that FSK 53 and other fuller spectrum Kannas have. So maybe you're really into those high mesembrine type extracts, and then maybe FSK 53 is not totally up your alley. But I would say for the average person, FSK 53 is a really good introduction to the world of Kanna with a lot of potency and just really nice effects. So that's why we have a powder now. Use it how you please. Explore some different dosing methods, whatever it may be. You have the opportunity to explore that now. So now let's move on to, I think, maybe my favorite of this release, which is Caloriburn. And Caloriburn is something that's been on the market for a while. You might actually already be familiar with it. It's in quite a lot of fat burning stacks, but I haven't really seen it as a standalone product, which is a shame because it has a really nice effect. And this is another thing that's been helping us while we've been sick, for two reasons. One, I have a bit of a personal theory now that things that upregulate the uncoupling protein 1, UCP1, the thermogenic target, basically, when you activate this target, you generate more heat through the process of thermogenesis, and then the various mechanisms with these thermogenic compounds that are converting white adipose tissue to brown adipose tissue and then creating more thermogenesis again and physical heat. It made me think, when we get sick, oftentimes we get a fever and our core body temperature goes up. Our core body temperature goes up as a defense mechanism to the pathogens that are within our body. So if we're taking thermogenics and our core body temperature is maybe a little bit higher than normal, then perhaps it is harder to get sick. And I was actually showing off at a recent meeting that I haven't been sick in a year because we've been taking these cyanidin-3 glucoside and black ginger. Now, here's the funny thing. We ran out of black ginger 2 weeks ago. So we haven't had our strong thermogenic component in our stack for about 2 weeks, and now I got sick. It's probably just a coincidence, but it did make me dig into this concept of thermogenesis, UCP1, brown adipose tissue, and if there's any link with our immune function. And there seems to be. And when we took this Caloriburn, which is an extract of grains of paradise, or the Latin name is Afromomum magueta, I believe. I might be butchering that. My memory is a bit fuzzy from this cold. It has two things going on. First, when it comes up, it has a very nice warming effect that relaxes my muscles. This has been really nice because my muscles have been a bit sore. It also has a pretty strong inflammation balancing effect and just an overall pain management effect. This heat seems to be bringing my symptoms down a lot, and I seem to be recovering pretty quick. So that's really interesting. But it made me look a lot more into this because Caloriburn basically is on the market as a fat burner. No one's really looking at it for its other effects. But if you look into it, there's now another company in Spain. They released a Nectium is the name of that company. They're releasing a Grains of Paradise extract too, and they've been doing some research on it. And there are some press releases from May of this year that is indicating that they have found that 6-paradol in Grains of Paradise, which Caloriburn is standardized to 12.5% of this compound, is acting as a pretty potent Fa inhibitor, the fatty acid amide hydrolase enzyme. And this Fa enzyme normally breaks down endocannabinoids. So when you inhibit Fa, you get more endocannabinoids, and endocannabinoids have a pain management and mood boosting effect. I'm certainly feeling that here. And it seems to have a CB2 agonist effect. Again, good for pain, good for mood, adding to that cannabinoid effect. And it even seems to be modulating the serotonin 5-HT1A receptor, which again produces a very nice mood boosting effect. So the one thing I've really noticed with the Caloriburn is, and we've been going back and forth on this, it kind of feels like that effect you get after eating very spicy food, and you get this nice mood boosting effect.
Or I suggested it also feels like the effect you get from spending a session in the sauna.
And we've been going back and forth on this effect. We've kind of come to the conclusion it is like you're eating peppers in a sauna, and then you get out and you kind of get this overall warming, kind of euphoric, very pleasant effect. And part of this is also because, like capsaicin in chili peppers, 6-paradol is a pretty potent TRPV1 agonist. And this is where capsaicin, or the active compound in chili peppers, which is capsaicin, produces its heating, warming, spicy effect. So I opened up a capsule and put a little bit of the Caloriburn powder on my tongue, and it is really, really quite spicy. And that spiciness lingered for a really long time. So it makes a lot of sense that when we take this orally, it's like we ate a pretty hefty amount of spicy food and also a little bit of the sauna feeling. So I really like this. It's also an effect that you have in the supercritical Boswellia extract, but it's almost a little bit more pronounced in this one.
The effect that I experience from this is that my muscles feel more relaxed, I can breathe deeper, I feel calmer, and just generally like my inflammation, pain, tension is taken down quite a few notches. And this is really nice because, like Emil has said, we've been sick, battling a cold, we've also been really busy, and so this is providing a lot of relief. But this is probably not the reason why most people are going to be reaching for this product. It just happens to be a really fascinating effect that is really relevant and helpful for us right now. So,
but on the other hand, it's being used as a fat burner, and it's not currently being used for its pain management, mood type of effects. So I think there's something to explore here now that we have it in isolation. And the first couple of doses when we took this, I said to Erica, this is going into our stack. Like, no doubt about it, this is there now. It's a really unique effects profile that I haven't really come across recently. It has elements of maca, it has elements of saffron, it has elements of black ginger, and it's all coming together in this really unique product. That, like Erica said, its main target effect is fat loss. Thermogenesis. So the basic principle behind this is that you're going to convert your very metabolically inactive white adipose tissue, the visible fat on your body basically, and you're going to switch it over to brown adipose tissue, which is much more metabolically active. And brown adipose tissue will take those lipids, those fats, and it will burn it and turn it into heat. So you're basically losing that energy then to heat, which is why you get warmer, but because you're losing it to heat, it's not being stored, so you're going to be able to lose weight. Combine this with good diet and exercise, and you'll really see a reduction in fat. There's studies on this. It really seems to work. This is a very unique ingredient. Definitely check it out for its thermogenic properties, and then explore its mood, cannabinoid type effects. The annoying thing, by the way, about this company in Spain is that they have this press release that they have this human study and they found all of this cool stuff, and that they were going to release this study mid 2024, yet it's nowhere to be found. I don't really know why that is. Maybe they're still confirming some of these results, so take it also with a grain of salt, what I said about the Fa inhibitor effects and the CB2 agonist effects. But I know my cannabinoids pretty well, and the first time I took it, I thought, it feels like I have a cannabinoid in my system. And this is before I even realized it had cannabinoid activities. Only the next day, when I was doing some research, I came across this press release, and it kind of clicked for me. So, again, it's a press release. I unfortunately have not read the full study yet. I might actually reach out to Nectium to see if I can read that study. But it seems like there's some cannabinoid activity going on here. It kind of feels like Mitadol and maca in that sense, where Mitadol is also having this Fa effect and maca is as well. It's a nice effect.
So this would be a great product to combine with some of our recently released products, which are going to be helpful for exercise and glucose metabolism. So black ginger, cyanidin 3 glucoside, berberine, and Vignatex, Tribugen. This would be a really interesting product to combine with those things to really kind of round out your fitness and muscle building stack, and also to bring a little bit of calm and relaxation and that just thermogenesis into the mix as well.
Yeah. And this Nectium company also is marketing this as a sleep promoting supplement, and they have some data that it is actually quite relaxing on the HAM-A scale, which is actually a really hard scale in research to have positive results on. So that's really impressive, and it makes sense too that I've been seeing this pop up in a bunch of fat burning products that are supposed to be taken at night before sleep. I was always a bit confused about it. I thought this would be more stimulating than it is. It is a little bit stimulating in my experience, but it's also calming. It's a really nice overall effect. It's like a more cannabinoid-y chili pepper type of effect. Great.
Let's move on to the next product.
The last one.
The last one.
So Caloriburn and then Mitoburn are both being made by NNB Nutrition, and if you're into bodybuilding, fitness, you've probably heard of them, unless you're living under the biggest rock imaginable, because everyone is talking about NNB Nutrition. They're like the new hotshot on the scene. It was Compound Solutions back in the day with ingredients like dynamine, which were very exciting. And now the attention seems to have kind of switched to NNB Nutrition, which makes sense because I'm really liking their products. So the other product that they make is Mitoburn. And Mitoburn is based on a endogenous compound that we have in our bodies. And this compound is called L-biba, or amino isobutyric acid. And when we exercise, there is an enzyme system called PGC1 alpha, and you've probably heard us talk about this before because this is how a lot of thermogenic supplements work. They work by increasing the amount of PGC1 alpha. For example, cyanidin 3 glucoside does this, black ginger does this, I believe even Caloriburn does this, and Mitoburn is being created when PGC1 alpha is activated. And normally this PGC1 alpha activity goes up when we exercise, and especially when we exercise really heavy. PGC1 alpha gets activated, and then PGC1 alpha takes the amino acid valine and turns valine into L-biba. And L-biba is called an exercise factor because it is released after exercise, and it has potential to increase muscle mass, to restructure our metabolic function, to increase thermogenesis, and to also increase bone health. So it is an important compound that gets released during exercise. And you can take it orally, and it has very similar effects.
I'm guessing from the name that it's also working within mitochondria.
And that's where it's coming from. So within our mitochondria, that's where this compound is coming from. And also a lot of these thermogenic supplements, they have beneficial effects on our mitochondria as well. So for example, cyanidin 3-glucoside and black ginger both increase mitochondrial biogenesis as well. So there's a strong mitochondrial component to all of these thermogenic fat loss supplements. But definitely a good catch there with the name Mitoburn. And it does have mitochondrial enhancing properties as well through this PPAR mechanism, which a lot of the fat burners work through. When I take this, it's not like Caloriburn, it's not like black ginger, it's not like cyanidin 3-glucoside. I really feel like it's a hard feeling to describe, but when I've had a very serious workout in the gym, I kind of leave the gym with this like pulsing, buzzing, almost aggressive kind of energy. When I take Mitoburn, the L-Biba, I get a similar type of feeling. I'm honestly not sure if I love this feeling when I'm just sitting around, and I haven't been able to take it pre-workout yet. But because L-Biba is released while we work out, it's actually synergistic if you take a dose of this pre-workout. Because if you take it pre-workout, you already have some L-Biba, you're going to get the benefits of L-Biba, and then as you're working out, you're going to get more L-Biba, and all of the other processes around exercise that are going to be synergistic with L-Biba and the increased amount of L-Biba from both oral and endogenous production. And in that sense, I think it will work a lot better. To me, it just, it amps me up a little bit too much. I personally prefer this one as just a thermogenic to take whenever. This one is a little bit more specific.
But makes sense because you also haven't been able to go to the gym because of being sick.
Yeah.
So to put it into context a little bit more, this is not a product that you're going to be taking when you're just relaxing on a Saturday afternoon.
Well, at least not for me. And what has an effect for me might not be for everyone. For example, I love taking black ginger during the day. I take it every day and I have absolutely no issues with it. But quite a few of you seem to be having sleep issues with it. So this is very different. Again, this is my experience. It's nice, but it definitely amps me up in a way that is really unique, and I'm still having a hard time totally figuring out. But it is interesting, and I think I will start using it pre-workout. Another nice thing is that you can stack these together, and they're quite synergistic too. And if you look at a lot of fat-burning supplements on the market, usually you have both Mitoburn and Caloriburn in them. So it is also a little bit hard to figure out what is Caloriburn doing, what is Mitoburn doing. But now that you can get them as two isolated, separate things, you can play around with them, you can combine them, you can combine it with cyanidin 3-glucoside, black ginger, and kind of get your own thermogenic stack going, which I will also reveal a little bit here, if you've made it this far, that we're also working on a thermogenic stack. We've been collecting a bunch of thermogenics. You probably know what's up. It's going to be a really interesting product. I'm excited to test that one out. And one last thing before we wrap this up, because these are the last two products, I think a really underappreciated benefit of these thermogenics is when it gets colder outside, take a thermogenic. You'll feel better. I feel much better when I take something like this. Now it's 7 degrees Celsius outside. It's pretty cold, but I don't feel that cold when I take this. And I think that also plays into my perhaps personal little theory about thermogenics being important for immune function, because when do you usually get sick? When it starts getting colder. And you might have cold exposure that drops your core body temperature a little bit, that then makes you a little bit more susceptible to pathogens. But if you're keeping warm, you're dressing warm, and you're taking a thermogenic during the winter, maybe that's less of an issue. So we'll see for the rest of this winter how that goes. But having taken these thermogenics during the summer, they really work. They're maybe a little bit too much in the summer, so I'm excited to be able to test out all of these thermogenics again during a much cooler month and see how potent is this effect when I'm just walking around outside. I might have to figure out a way that I can keep tabs on my core body temperature over like a 24-hour period of time. That would be really interesting to see if with some thermogenics you can keep it more stable and a little bit higher even if you're out and about in the cold.
And once you're feeling better and you're able to go back to the gym, it's also going to be interesting to see how these products help you build muscle and keep up your motivation for your workout program.
Yeah.
I haven't joined Emil in his lifting routine yet, but it's on my list of things to do. So once I get to that point where I can dedicate that time and energy, I'm also really curious to see how these products are going to help with that initial, routine building and muscle building process. So for anyone who is interested in these products for their fat burning properties, definitely check them out. Of course, the links are going to be in the description of the YouTube video, but also for people who are going into the winter months, maybe you live in a cold climate and you like the effects of going to the sauna, you like the effects of eating spicy food, basically you know how powerful that inner warming thermogenic feeling can be. Definitely try these out because you might be surprised at how effective and useful they are going into these winter months when it's easier that we're going to be getting sick sometimes. We might be struggling to just stay warm when going to and from activities, and we want to keep our immune system as strong as possible. So to just quickly recap these 5 new products, we have Caloriburn, we have Mitoburn, we have Kanna Powder.
Here it is.
We have our Mushroom Magic Coffee Latte BALLER, and we have our Mushroom Magic Coffee also BALLER.
Yes, not latte version. And by the way,
version.
I haven't read these out yet, but I think these are pretty funny. Paul thinks of these little slogans. I'm always surprised because we don't know ahead of time what they're going to be. This time, on the normal Mushroom Magic Coffee BALLER, it is Espresso Patronum, which I really like because we always like to make the Wingardium Leviosa jokes at home. And then we got the ends justify the beans for the latte one, which I also think is really funny.
So a little bit of humor to go along with your mushroom magic drink of the day. Okay, that concludes our new product video. Try these products out for yourself. We're really curious to hear what your experience is with them. As always, you can tell us what you've bought and what you're excited to try on Reddit. Our subreddit is r/nootropicsdepot. If you want to get updates about upcoming products, podcasts, definitely follow Nootropics Depot on Instagram, and you can also follow Emil and I. That is going to be at In Search of Insight. That is our Instagram for the In Search of Insight podcast. Keep your eyes peeled for the next episode of In Search of Insight, and let us know if you have questions. We are always available via email, via Reddit, and we're ready and excited to answer them. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
See ya.